What's good in the hood, people? Nothing, right? Nothing's good in the hood. It was a rhetorical question. It's bad right now. Self-isolation day 20, I think. Day 20. The beard is definitely going to be there at day 100, right? I said this. I said by the time day 100 comes around, and fingers crossed we don't get to a day 100, but by the time day 100 comes around, my beard's going to be like this. Because I'm not going to cut it until this is all over and done with. Because I'm not going anywhere. Why do I need to cut it? Self-isolation day 20. As per usual, people, I know I say it all the time, but hopefully everyone is doing well. Hopefully everyone is staying safe and everyone is okay. All right. Obviously, the coronavirus has impacted boxing quite a lot. The next sort of 2 or 3 months were very good months, especially for us British fight fans. We had Daniel Dubois, Joe Joyce lined up, Chisora Usyk, Dillian White, Povetkin, and Joshua Pulev, right? All that was going to happen in the space of 3 or 4 months. Add into that Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder, the trilogy fight. So for British fight fans, a lot of our big fights have been pushed. A fight that I was looking forward to, more than all of those fights, by the way, was Vasyl Lomachenko versus Teofimo Lopez. That fight was due to take place next month in May. It has now been pushed back to, I'm here in November, December. But that was the fight, more than all the other fights that we had planned for the next 4 or 5 months. That was the fight that had me intrigued more than all of those fights. It's the fight I really wanted to see. For me, it's an undisputed fight. I know some people might argue with that fact just because Devin Haney has now got the WBC belt. Remember, Vasyl Lomachenko got upgraded to super champion or diamond champion, whatever. And Devin Haney, therefore, got given the WBC lightweight belt. For me, though, regardless of that, it's still an undisputed fight. 2 guys that will bring it, 2 different styles. Some might say a passing of the torch match. I don't believe that at all. I think there's still a lot left in Loma. But let's discuss this fight for a little while. Shout out to Pep Talk UK, by the way. I don't know if you guys follow them, but go and follow them. They're guys that are doing great things right now. They had on Teofimo Lopez's dad recently. He's got a lot of energy, Reminds me a bit of Danny Garcia's dad, right? Very, very passionate. Obviously, will be batting for his son, batting for him in a big way, right? He thinks that Teofimo Lopez will stop Vasyl Lomachenko. And look, we expect him to say that. So yeah, go and check out Pep Talk UK. They've really upped the ante of recent. I met Pro Bees, who does all the stuff for Pep Talk in Saudi Arabia. And I think even he would admit that they've really started to step up now. So good luck to them. Go and support the channel. Go and subscribe. I'm sure you'll like the content. Anyway, it made me think, who benefits more from this layoff? Remember, the fight was, again, due to take place next month. We're now talking about the fight happening in 6 to 7 months. A lot of people seem to think that the layoff benefits Teofimo Lopez, right? That Vasyl Lomachenko is obviously a lot older, and that we are now seeing, if you like, the slow, very slow, but slow decline of Lomachenko, where I think Teofimo Lopez is only going to get better. Obviously, people have said things like Loma's age, injuries, a lot of wear and tear on the body. We know there was a huge amateur career as well, and that the long layoff will eventually benefit Teofimo Lopez. I'm not sure about that. I look at it a different way. And look, I understand that argument as well. Don't get me wrong, I do understand that argument. But I look at it a different way. Teofimo Lopez of recent has said that if he does beat Loma, or when he does beat Loma, I think he said, he's going straight to 140. Obviously, there are big fights at 140. Josh Taylor's there, Ramirez is there. Then other fun fights as well. Broner, possibly if he comes down to 140. I don't think that fight will happen, but you never know. It's an option. Hooker's there still, although he said he's going to go to 147. He's there. Obviously, he's fighting Prograis. So there are some good names at 140. But if you look at what's at 135, you could argue right now that 135-pound division is the best division in boxing, right? Obviously, Ryan Garcia's there, Devin Haney's there, Loma's there for a rematch if possible, Gervonta Davis is there. Did I mention Haney? I think I did. Then there's other guys floating around as well, right? There's talks of Leo Santa Cruz coming up, other guys floating around. So when he says that he wants to go to 140 immediately after, I don't look at it as though, okay, I'm going to chase 140 and become a 2-weight world champion and then eventually going to go to 147, where I do think he will land. I look at it as that is someone that is struggling to make the 135-pound weight class. That's the way I look at it. Because for me, although Ramirez and Taylor are big fights, right, world title fights, I think that the money fights are still 135 pounds. Gervonta Davis is a pay-per-view fight, it is. And we know now there is a working relationship between Top Rank and PBC, so that fight can happen. Devin Haney, big money fight, right? Ryan Garcia, big money fight. Again, we are starting to see working relationships with these promotional companies. So when he tells the world he wants to go to 140, I get how some people are looking at it that it's great, right? Go and chase those weight classes. But for me, I look at it as though you're struggling with the weight because all the money fights right now at 135 pounds. Again, this is the best. I think this is the best 135 for a long time. So all the money fights at 135. So when we go back to saying who will benefit the most during this long layoff, I think it could be Loma just because of this extra weight. I think Teofimo Lopez, like any young guy, is just naturally getting bigger and bigger. And I think he's struggling to shrink back down to 135. I really do. So I think he would have wanted the fight to happen now. I think in 7 months, naturally, again, this guy is just going to get bigger. A lot of the 135ers will eventually go to 147. Devin Haney will eventually go to 147. Ryan Garcia, if he fills out a bit, because Ryan Garcia is very skinny, might go to 147. Gervonta Davis will go to 140. Teofimo Lopez will go to 147. They're all very, very big guys. And I think Teofimo Lopez is probably the biggest out of all of them. And I think he is struggling with the weight. So I think the longer layoff actually benefits Loma more than it does Teofimo Lopez. I think Loma will look after his body in between this. So yeah, people are talking about wear and tear. I think Loma looks after his body well. I think he lives the life as well, which benefits him. I don't think he smokes or drinks. Could be wrong with both of those things, but he looks like he's always in and around the weight class just because he fights at his walking around weight, really. Let's look at it, though, from a boxing standpoint, right? Let's put all that to the side. If the fight was to happen tomorrow, who do you think wins? Now, a lot of people have come to me with the argument that Teofimo Lopez is stronger and bigger. I get all those things, right? Everyone at 135 is bigger and probably stronger than Lomachenko. This doesn't surprise me. Again, I think Teofimo Lopez walks around, could be crazy here, but I think he walks around at around 160. That's what I think, right? Whereas I think Loma has maxed out at 135. And really and truly, Loma could fight at 130, maybe, sound crazy, maybe even 126, right? Loma is a small guy. I think we've seen it with Loma and Teofimo when they've done a head-to-head. You can see Loma's not big, right? He's not fixed at all. So everyone is bigger and stronger than Loma at 135. So that's not news to us. But this isn't a world's strongest man competition. This is a boxing competition. I think we need to remind people of this. And yes, I do think size matters, but not in this instance. In this instance, I think it comes down to boxing ability and boxing IQ. And there isn't anyone boxing today that has better boxing ability than Vasyl Lomachenko. I know I wax lyrical about him. It's only because I've been watching boxing for a very, very long time. And this guy, what he does amazes me. It does. Do I think we've seen peak Loma? Yes, I do, right? I don't think fighting at 135 helps him. I do think we've seen peak Loma. We have seen him get tagged a bit. We have seen him in the last sort of 3 out of 4 fights in trouble, right? Crawler was a walk in the park, but Pedraza caused him some problems in the end. I think it was a good performance, especially coming off shoulder surgery. Linares put him down. And I think Luke Campbell was a lot tougher than we thought. So I do think we've seen Loma max out, but I still do think there's enough ability in there for Loma to get the job done against Teofimo Lopez. I think Lopez will be a problem for the first 3 or 4 rounds just because he is fast and explosive. But I think once Loma starts to work out what he does, and we've seen that of all Loma fights, by the way, even the fights where Loma is or has been tagged, you start to see him work out what the opponents do, and he never gets tagged by the same punch again. Never. Never happens, right? You're going to have to go back maybe to a Salido fight way back when to see that happening. Loma starts to download information, and I really think he's doing it. Download information, makes these adjustments, and then eventually gets either a stoppage or a kind of running away performance. And we've seen that in all of the guys that he's fought recently, right? Gets the stoppage or he gets a runaway performance where he starts to kind of go clear in the latter rounds. Loma is, he's a freak of nature in terms of what he does. He really is. Again, I've said this before, so apologies for repeating myself. He's a pressure fighter that isn't reckless. And that's very, very rare, by the way. A lot of pressure fighters over the years, go and look at them. So we're talking guys that throw punches in bunches, guys that don't stop moving for sort of 3 minutes in every single round. Those kind of guys are very reckless in what they do. Loma does that, but he is very, very calculated. Very calculated. And that's hard to fight, right? You're fighting a guy that is pressuring you, but he's pressuring you smart. Usyk done the same thing with Tony Bellew, right? And it will wear on you. And it will wear on you, especially if you're struggling with the weight. We saw it with Tony Bellew and Usyk. Tony Bellew doing good for rounds 1 to 4, 1 to 5. He was struggling with the weight, and that pressure eventually told. And I expect Loma to almost do exactly the same thing against Teofimo Lopez. Can Teofimo Lopez punch? Yes. I think we saw that against Richard Comey, right? When he landed that I think it was a right cross. Beautiful. But the thing about that punch was he landed the same exact punch in the first round, and Richard Comey didn't take heed of it and walked into the same punch. Loma isn't doing that, people. He isn't walking into the same punches like that. So I think Teofimo Lopez will do well, but I think in the end, Loma will still get the job done. I do think the only thing that beats Loma right now is if he tries to go up another weight class and age, right? I think age will be a big factor with Loma, but right now I still think he is young enough to handle these kids, right? I still think we're not talking about a 35, 36-year-old Loma. We're not talking about that. What's Loma? I'm guessing Loma is either 32, maybe 31, 32. So I still think we've got a couple of years left. And I think the smart thing that Loma did, and it could be something that catches up with him later, but I think the smart thing he did was jump weight classes. I think the thing that kills these smaller weight class guys is when they're having to really shrink into a weight. I think Loma was smart by moving up, although obviously he's coming up against naturally bigger guys, but that was a smart move on his part, so he doesn't have to struggle to make weight. And that would be a big problem, obviously, if he's still trying to make 126, 130. Then, yes, obviously that completely destroys the body. Right now, I think Loma walks around at 145, 146, so he's only really cutting 10 pounds. But all the other guys in and around that weight class, maybe apart from Ryan Garcia, who's quite thin, are walking around at 160, 165. Fucking Gervonta Davis could be walking around even bigger, right? And that's just pure fat. So I do think that Teofimo Lopez gives him a good fight for a few rounds, but then I just expect Loma to do what Loma does and just show him different looks, different moves, switch hit, go to the body, attack that body, and he will attack that body, punches in bunches, work rate, work rate, work rate. And right now, for me, there's no one at 135 that can compete with that. No one. You have to be a supreme athlete, and not just a supreme athlete, a supreme boxer, supreme boxing IQ. And for these younger kids, it's almost like they're trying to play chess with the grandmaster, and none of these guys yet are ready. But good fight nonetheless. Peace. Guys, sorry, it's me again. I'm back. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Also, please like and share the videos. It really does help the channel a lot. And if you want to support the channel, I do have a Patreon account. The link is in the description. All right, I'm done. Peace.